What is up, Paul? It is Thursday morning, a dreary, chilly, wet Thursday morning. My favorite kind of Thursday morning, frankly. How you doing?
I'm doing better than I deserve, man. Yes, it is rainy, but we have artificial lights making us look fantastic. So we're good.
Yeah, so a lot of stuff to cover today. So I'm just going to hit the intro button before I forget, and then we're going to go right into Joint Strike Missiles.
Let's do the dance.
What a great way to start the day with our sassy little intro graphic. But let's get right into this. Joint Strike Missiles, $240 million worth of them to be produced in some way with Eglin Air Force Base, because we do a lot of testing here. Paul, you're the missile guy.
How am I the missile guy?
Because I'm not the missile guy. All right, you are missile adjacent. All right,
yeah.
So tell us what's going on with this one.
So I mean, really cool just from an Eglin standpoint, right? So this is a contract awarded to Kongsberg Defense and Aerospace to continue their support to missile rounds and containers and test stuff for everything that happens related to the F-35 and just the Joint Strike Missile production line in general. And so for people who don't know, the JSM, look, that makes me sound like I know what I'm talking about.
See, told you, missile guy.
Yeah, is super important to keeping our country safe. It operates inside the stealth body of an F-35 and maybe a few other planes as well. And yeah, it's a super important program to the area. And as a lot of people know, we do missile testing as part of the mission here. So yeah, this was a huge announcement. I think the only downside, to be honest with you, is and I'm learning more about this, but like Kongsberg is a foreign company. So they're out of Norway. They do have a lot of like US based stuff, but it would be nice if we had better manufacturing. I think we're starting to see a comeback in the United States of more manufacturing. So I would love to see a $250,000 contract be awarded to a US based company sometime in the future. Related to national security and sort of the missile production. But
so we'll Norway, good for oil, lutefisk, and apparently missile body production. Didn't have that one on my bingo card this week. But another thing that I think kind of like we thought was in the past a little bit was the whole opioid epidemic. Like, we had seen this national trend back downward, but that's not really the case in Walton County, which still has something like, for every overdose death in Bay or Okaloosa County has 2 deaths, right, per 100,000 people. And so the Walton County Commission just passed a measure to basically put Narcan and make it publicly available in a ton of public spaces around Walton County. Again, this is a big deal because Walton County, I think, has something like 50 overdose deaths or something like that per 100,000 people. So they had roughly 300 overdoses in Walton County. And then I'm looking at the story right now to refresh my memory, but yeah, somewhere in the 25.5 overdose deaths, or 41 deaths, excuse me, for Walton, and then 25.5 in Okaloosa, 22 deaths in Bay County. So it's still a real problem in our area.
Yeah, I mean, this story sort of makes me sad, right? Like the fact that we have to have these sprinkled around the county in hopes of like saving people. I don't know how they're going to decide where they're placed or what, but it feels a little bit different than the placing defibrillators, right, in airports and in public spaces for when people have heart attacks and stuff to shock them back. Like to have this program be around, I don't know, it makes me sad. I mean, I'm glad Walton County is trying to do something about it. Beyond just kind of using their public health type programs. But man, it feels sad to have like Narcan or naloxone stands all over the county because we have such a problem.
Yeah, and I think the I don't know, it hurts my heart, but I'm also glad they're attempting to do something about it, right? Because yeah, I don't want people to use drugs, and I don't want them to die from using drugs. So having this out there feels like one of those things where it's like, I'm not thrilled about it, but I'm also kind of thrilled about it because it means we might save somebody's life. but yeah, I don't like what it represents. I don't love that it represents like, hey, we have a problem. But I think that sometimes the first way to deal with the problem is to admit you have one and then try and fix it. So, do I love that taxpayer money is going to this? No, but I also don't love that taxpayer money needs to technically go to missiles, right? Like, I wish we just didn't have war. But that's not a reality. And so, the way I see it is like it's the best bad solution, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a better solution than just handing out other drugs openly and having an
Yeah.
area where people can use them, which is what some more liberal cities and other places in the country have done. And maybe we'll put these boxes up. Maybe they'll save a life or two, which will be important. And then maybe as this crisis diminishes, or maybe these boxes bring more awareness as well to the problem,
Mm.
and the crisis diminishes, we can get rid of the prevention boxes.
Right on. Well, we have two big stories that are kind of related.
Mhm.
Property tax elimination was a huge topic of conversation over I guess, the last couple of weeks as Governor DeSantis put this as like his number one thing on his wish list for the upcoming legislative session, which starts in less than a month. He wants to get rid of property taxes, which I think I would I can't speak for the governor, but like that seems like a starting point. And then you kind of negotiate down to what you actually think you can get. Um, but the legislative delegation met earlier this week, I believe Monday night, and they heard from local leadership. So Niceville City Manager David Deitch, Shalimar Mayor Mark Franks came up and said, "Hey, I get it. We're all Republicans here. We're not big on taxes, but we would like to be able to have a police department and have roads
Yeah.
and have fire departments and planning and zoning and all the things that make it like a better place to live." um, and I think they were heard. I don't know, but all the legislative persons. So think Don Gates, Nathan Boyles, Jay Trumbull. Who am I missing here? Oh, Pat Maney. All got together, listened, but essentially they said, like, guys, this is going to be a really bad idea if you guys allow this to go through. Of course, next steps, we go to the state legislature here in less than a month and have them hash it out. But the governor has been hot on this one for a minute. He has also suggested using tourism money to replace some of that deficit that would be left by not, charging property taxes or some significant reduction in property tax. I'd like to know your thoughts because you got a lot of irons in this fire as both a homesteaded property owner here, somebody that has rental property, somebody that is, I would assume, pro road and pro police. I don't know. I mean, that might just be an assumption on my part, but you own a car. So what do you think about this one?
Yeah, it's sort of starting to feel like in the state of Florida, we have a little bit of infighting within the Republican Party on what we think is a good idea and what we don't think, right? So I think nationally, this is an item that gets big news for DeSantis and puts him on kind of even more of a national scale than he's already been with his past presidential runs. And then like as you go deeper and get more local in your politics, it's more difficult to accept this as something you want to see happen because there is a big unknown about what your local budgets will look like when something like this gets passed. And so I think what you're feeling is a lot of like people who want to be in lockstep with DeSantis feeling super uncomfortable about what this might mean for them, not only in their jobs, but politically if they come out against it. And so it's one of those items where it's like a thin line for people to walk. And so I sort of imagine this is the exact opposite of the way some Californians feel, maybe, right? Like with Democrats coming up with ideas that are way too far left from what their constituents actually want, and if you get down to the local level, it doesn't necessarily work. So yeah, super interesting. I think selfishly, everybody who has a homestead in Florida would love to see their property tax go away, but it is very unclear what that means for local economies and local municipalities.
I think it'd be incredibly difficult to implement. I mean, you and I have talked about like how we tax in the past, right? Like I think that property tax is more stable and therefore more predictable for local governments, so they can do a better job using that money. Because if you don't, if you have an allowance when you're a kid and you have between $100 and $400 next week, you don't really know how to plan how to use that, or if you're an adult. But also, I think this is kind of an ingenious, if frankly, dare I say it, selfish move by the governor, who I think wants to run for president in 2 years. If he can say, I eliminated property taxes, I'm the real conservative, I think that resonates with a lot of voters that don't have to deal with the fallout of not having local government, essentially, or having to fund it in a different way. So I think it's a great political move. I think it's a fantastic political move. I just don't think it's a good policy move.
Well, and for everybody who's like a fiscal conservative, right? They have been screaming about utilizing consumption taxes versus versus property taxes or income taxes. And, there's been no better place historically than Florida for not having a state income tax and being able to survive and have a surplus off of consumption taxes. And so I think this is our way of like pushing the envelope even further on this. And I already know what the next topic's going to be, right? At the county level half-cent sales tax. And so that's a consumption tax as well. And so you start looking at these things and you're like, well, maybe the changeover is going to be uncomfortable. Like the uncertainty is going to be uncomfortable. But, this is what fiscal conservatives have been yelling about at the federal level for decades. And we're probably going to, maybe find out how it happens in the state of Florida, and it'll be an interesting experiment.
What is it? The states are the laboratory of democracy, right?
Yeah.
So yes, I think we will find out. I think that my counter to that would be the 2007 financial crisis and what it did to the state here. That's probably a better argument for income tax because state property taxes here in Florida took a nosedive as well. But it just kind of shows like the consumption tax. So when stuff gets bad, right, when you need government the most, it will be less available to everyone, would be my last thing that I'd say about that. But unless you got something to add, I want to move on to surtax renewal.
No, we can move on to surtax. I think this is an interesting topic, and we're going to see how it plays out. And there's going to be a lot of people who are pro it because it obviously puts more money in their pocket.
Nothing wrong with that. Surtax renewal. Speaking of more taxes, not more taxes. That's not true. We have the same amount of taxes. Speaking of taxes, some more. There it is.
There you go.
That's what I meant. Anyway, speaking of taxes, the local chambers of commerce, many of them led by Theodore Corcoran over there at the Fort Walton Beach Area Chamber of Commerce, and their current chairman, Gordon King, have gone to the county commission and said, hey, guys, we've had this half-cent sales tax for the last 8 years. We'd like to renew it early so that it goes back in place starting in 2039. Same levy amount, but for another 10 years. There has been pushback on this. There has been people that are in favor of it. We've seen really lively discussions. So shout out to Vince Mayfield, who has been kind of carrying the load on the pro tax side of that on our Facebook comment page. He's put out like really well reasoned, really well thought out, kind. Thank you for being kind.
Yeah.
Tax arguments. There have been people on the other side, people like for Walton Beach City Councilman Payne Walker, who have said this is just a waste. We can't do this. But you're on this surtax committee, so I'd like to hear your thoughts about like, should we do this? Should we not do this? Is this a huge waste of money? Do you see absolutely no benefit to it? All that kind of stuff. Floor is yours.
Yeah, sure. So, full disclosure, I sit on the advisory council, the Infrastructure Surtax Advisory Council, which is just normal citizens who get to take a look at potential infrastructure projects and vote yes or no for a recommendation that eventually goes to the county board for voting. Mm-hmm. So that's my disclaimer. I have seen the benefits up close of the surtax. We had all of these projects and we had the money to do them. We were able to double, if not triple, some of that money via matching grants from various state organizations. It has done like an amazing job here locally. Is there more work to be done? Absolutely. Do people hate taxes? Yes. But this is this is a consumption tax. If you don't want to pay the half-cent sales tax, you just buy less things. There's also been a lot of like hoopla on like what percentage of the funds raised come from locals versus tourists.
Mm-hmm.
And the numbers that are being publicly spoken from the county and other municipalities is above 50%, somewhere in the 54 to 56% of the funds that are raised come from folks who don't live here. Even if you think that number is significantly inflated, I would venture to say that even if it was 20 or 25%, I would still be pro surtax, because that money is coming from outside of the state, and it's money that we don't have to raise ourselves inside the county or inside the state. So I would personally vote yes. If 2 years from now or whenever we vote, if it goes away and I no longer have a volunteer position on an advisory board, then fine. I don't really have a horse in the race, right? I just think it's good for our county, and I've seen what it's done from the infrastructure project level. The opposite side of the coin is I think if the municipalities in the county want to keep pressing really, really hard on this, they also need to show how they're being fiscally responsible with the other tax dollars they receive. I think it's very easy to point to the benefits of the surtax, but you can also point to the increasing cost to run county government. And we need our own little probably Doge experiment just to make sure that we're using those funds properly. So that was me doing a lot of talking. But I can tell you by looking at the list of projects, we're way ahead, because the half-cent sales tax has raised the funds necessary along with the matching grants to be able to get way ahead on these infrastructure projects.
Well, yeah. So let me bring this thing up real quick. They developed this when I was at the county. The half-cent sales tax. There's Larry. Oh, there you are. Hey, look, it's Paul.
I'm on there too. So shocker, I'm wearing a hat.
I know, right? But basically there's this website out here. Everybody says, like, how do we know they're being responsible with it? Here's where all the projects are, how much they cost, what they're doing, when they should be done by. All right here. It's myokalusa.com/BCC/infrastructure projects. Super easy website. I will put it in the comment section right now so that you can go take a look. But I would argue that's pretty transparent. I mean,
it's insanely transparent. Everything is in a public meeting. So, the challenges I have, right, is like just people are going to be against the tax, because they're just systematically against taxes. But I think this provides a great value to the community. And like you said, they can go to that link and you can see all the various projects. In fact, we're probably far enough ahead that we could start collecting even more projects. And if you have an infrastructure challenge in your community, I would tell you to call the county and work through Public Works to get it on the list for the infrastructure, surtax dollars to help take care of it.
Yeah, I mean, and the matching funds, I think. So everybody that is against the whole matching funds thing is like, hey, that's our tax money anyway. And they're absolutely correct. It is our tax money anyway. But that tax money would be going somewhere else, and being used on somebody else's backyard. And I don't like somebody else's backyard. I want it used in mine. And so we've gotten something like $278 million in matching grants for a total between the half-cent sales tax and those matching grants of 415. So $500 million in infrastructure needs. We have not kept up with infrastructure really great in the last 40 years. Same thing with the school district, which has their half-cent sales tax, which is basically helping the school district survive its infrastructure challenges. I wouldn't say that they're thriving at this point, but they've got something going. And it's so without this tax, essentially we're going to pay for it one way or the other, because the county needs road graders, and the county needs sheriff's deputies, and the county needs the airport, right? And so we're going to pay for that one way or the other. Like, I'm just going to tell you, they're not going to be like, oh, well, there's potholes in the tarmac, no more airplanes. Sorry, guys.
Well, I mean, you can argue with like how the list is prioritized. You could argue that whatever your road is that you travel is not the best, but I think it's really hard to say like, hey, if we took away all these projects that are in flight or completed, that our county would be, better. No, it'd be worse. So, I mean, there's still a lot of work to do. There's a lot of infrastructure projects left to do. Taking away this tax and trying to figure out how to do them is not the right answer. So,
Right on. Well, that is all the show that we have today, my guy, with the exception of me hitting the outro button, which I will not forget.
yeah, don't do that. But hey, everybody, we appreciate you guys watching the show. We're going into the holidays, so Merry Christmas. Not 100% sure when our next show is going to be.
Oh, it's going to be next Thursday, December 25th.
Yeah, I don't think our wives would be happy about that.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, so we might not see you guys till 2025 unless we just pop up live, out of nowhere.
An emergency show.
Yeah, emergency show for fun, or just because I've had too many brown liquor drinks and you've had too many energy drinks. I don't know. But I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas out there. And we'll look forward to seeing you guys at the latest in the new year. And please make sure you donate midbaynews.com/donate so we can continue bringing you guys local news. And don't forget to send me a hat. We got a shout out from Tori about my boggy hat today. So thank you for that. And as always, be nice, Niceville. Let's do the dance.